The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
I did hear that they were coming through necessary media.
Because it's necessary. Necessary media. Media because it's necessary.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again. I'm your host and friend Michael DeOliveira, ushering in the necessary era every Wednesday here live on Comcast Channel 95. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. I think I got it. There. I'm gonna put it right here. So again, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe. We're trying to build up that viewer base. And at the same time, make sure you like the Facebook page, www.facebook.com/thenecessarymedia. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/thenecessarymedia. And you can always, give me your your comments or your suggestions as to who you want on the show. There's a lot of stuff going on lately. I said last week, the show's going to be taking, not a new course, but I'm going to try to introduce some things. I wanted to get some of that started this week, but as you probably know, if you live in Fall River, there's a lot going on with the budget right now. So we have, city councils that are running around left and right. We got issues with the school committee where they've been going around left and right. So trying to get people in here has been like pulling teeth, I'm not going to lie. So I've been making some calls, doing some things, and I've started some pre-scheduling. What I was trying to do originally, like I've mentioned before on the show comes on a Wednesday on purpose because it's supposed to follow a city council meeting, which comes on Tuesday. But again, during this budget time, it's been equaling problems. So I try to I don't try to schedule until the actual day of or day before so that I can give you something of relevance that happened at the city council meeting. But that's been challenging, like I said, as of late. But good news, I can confirm. So everybody out there who has either your own children, if you got your own children in the school system, the Fall River school system, public school system, if you got brothers, sisters, cousins, send me all your questions that you might have or concerns. Next week on the show, we have Dr. Ed Kostar. His real name's Costa. I've told you this before, but some people know him as Kostar. Dr. Ed Kostar, he's going to be the guest on the show next week. So he's a school committee member. He's a friend of mine. I've known him before he was even going to run, and then when he ran. Get me your comments or your concerns. I'm going to do my best to get them on, or call in. If you're watching right now, I'm going to list off some things that I want to talk about, but if you got a topic you want to talk about or you want to touch base on some of this, call in. As you can see, the number's 508-730-3222. I had to make sure on that 3 2s there. But yeah, call in if you want to add to the conversation. Like I just said, that's going to be the guest next week. Following that, I'll put it out there right now. City Councilor Linda Pereira is supposed to be on the show. So again, if you have any comments or questions, let me know, and I'm going to do my best to get it on. Or we might put them on the spot. Feel free to call in again. So make sure you write that number down. Write down the time. Tell your friends, your family to tune in every week. So again, this week, folks, I took some notes because there's a lot of stuff going on with the budget. I'm going to get into some national stuff in a little bit, or a little bit after this. And again, feel free to chime in at any time. But I'm going to touch in on some of the stuff going on locally with the budget. Now, there's been a lot of controversy as far as what was going to happen with the budget. Are the numbers going to add up, whatnot? I'm not here to do the intricate math for you. That is not my thing. I'm going to just go over some of the general principles. You can hold the human calculators accountable for this. That is not my gig. That's not my bag, baby. That's not what I do. But I'm going to go over some of the general principles. If you didn't know about any of this, now you're gonna. If you want to chime in, again, 508-730-3222. So, all right, right off the bat, some of the things I've took, now I'm going to give credit also to Joe Good of the Herald News. Shout out Joe Good. This is coming from her article. It's not the most recent. It's the one right before that that kind of just went over. I guess they had a meeting with Jazel and went over some things. Now, as promised during his campaign, he was, he pushed on this and he pushed on this, that he wanted to eliminate the $10 budget, $10 per unit per month household fee. Now, that was his thing. That's what he wanted to do. Apparently, he's succeeded in doing this, but which is also, it's eliminating $3.7 million, which was introduced under the previous administration's budget. Well, yeah, for 16, the budget for FY16 under Sam Sutter. $3.7 million he's apparently taken care of, which would have come from this per unit fee. With that being eliminated, well, where's the money coming from? Or where'd the money go? How do we come to this point? If you saw the show, I had Jazel Correa, Mayor Jazel Correa, right here in this seat. I had Jazel on, and one of the things I wanted to touch on stronger, and we didn't get to, was this zero-based budgeting. He came in with his administration. He wanted to go through start with a zero-based budgeting system. Now, there's a lot of talk out there from people, and I support this, that the city needs a full forensic audit. What that would mean is literally going through every single nickel and dime, every line item, and making sure either everything adds up, or where's the money going, where's the money coming from. You want everything accounted for, period. Now, I assume this comes at a cost. That's technically the downside of this, is people argue about the cost. But as you've seen, if you pay attention locally, there's been so many issues with money. Where's the money being hidden? Where's it coming from? Where's it going? There's been all these secret ways to maneuver the money around, that the only way we're gonna get a true answer to that is with a full forensic audit. But I guess I'll say second to that, this is all right. This is all right. Compared to what we've done before, this is all right. Literally, what you're doing with zero-based budgeting is you're starting at zero for every department. Now, to speak to that, I believe I had, trying to find where, all right, again, going in with the zero-based budgeting, I was trying to get a quote from what some of the stuff this pertains to. But I mean, what you're doing again is you're going in at starting at zero. So what he's done is you're making the department heads have to officially specify, again, I'm looking for the specifics, but you have to justify and specify where the every staff position, every expenditure, everywhere your department is going to put money, you need to justify that. What is that? What is probably the biggest thing that's come from that, out of this, is you've had the situations where, all right, so here's the quote from Mary Zahadi, who's going to be the soon-to-be city chief financial officer. This year, this is under her quote through the Herald News, is this year there are a lot less vacant positions. Let me explain something to you, because I was talking to some people outside of the, see, I know a lot of people who are really paying attention to this stuff, and then I know a lot of people who don't pay attention at all, and when you tell them these things, that it's all new to them. So let me explain something to you out there. We've had situations in the budget before, or all the way up to this point, where the way the budget worked was you had a department, and you had certain things accounted for. So, okay, laptop accounted for, pen accounted for, paper accounted for, which apparently the mayor was printing on both sides, so good job, saving the earth, saving trees, whatever. But everything has to be accounted for. I mean, that's how the budget would be. But what they were doing is they would have, for instance, okay, you see one laptop? Well, there would be a line item for laptop, but it would be vacant, meaning the money's there for it, but we're not going to get it yet. They would do this with positions. So just to give a for instance, if you have in City Hall, you have, let's say the clerical department, for lack of a better phrase, whatever. You have the clerical department, and you have, again, easy numbers, folks. This isn't actual numbers. Don't hold me to this. This is just for a metaphor. If you had three people working in a department, they would have a vacancy for 2 people, let's say. And what they're saying is, oh, well, we're going to need them in the year, so let's just budget for them now. So what that means is, in the budget, they would have money put aside for these 2 positions. So again, just using easy numbers, these are not even close to actual numbers, but let's say each position is $25,000. So that's $50,000. So you have the 3 people who work, that's 70 actually work there. Again, not in real numbers, folks, don't confuse this. So if you have, that would be 25 per each, so there's 3, that's 75,000, but you'd have a vacancy for, say, 2. So that's an additional 50,000 put into the budget. It's budgeted in for that department with not actually being used. No one's touching it, it's just there. Now what would happen is, they were using this tactic to roll money over to cover other random things that might come about in the year that they maybe couldn't get money for otherwise, or just to cover previous holes in the budget, things of this nature. This is how they would create money, which in reality, they were taking more money than was needed. They were creating wiggle room. Now, I'm going to get to this wiggle room thing. One of the criticisms that the mayor is getting from this budget, and again, I'm not here to really nitpick on either side. I'm just telling you the information. You want to call in with your full-on opinion. Again, 508-730-3222. One of the criticisms he's getting is if we're doing because of this zero-based budgeting, we're pretty much trying to eliminate any of these vacant spots, which he's apparently done a significant amount of to create the or to take away, I would say, the need for these additional fees and like with the $10 per unit per household fee. Now, if you take away those vacant spots, and we were using this for wiggle room, the criticism comes down to, well, what happens when there's an issue, like all of a sudden windows fall out? What are you gonna do when you need to come up with the money to fix this, right? So it's a justifiable, I think, criticism, but, right, hold on, do I got any? Yeah. But I personally do not think you're supposed to create wiggle room in your budget by literally creating a position out of nowhere that's never intended to, in reality, be filled. That's your method of getting more money from the taxpayers because, again, people, if you don't understand how this goes, or using money from taxpayers, this ultimately equals your taxes constantly going up. Okay, this is part of the budget here. This is what we're going with. But so we're going about it with that. We're trying to eliminate things in that way. Now, another thing that stuck out to me in this budget, or going through some of the notes from this budget, that I think is important for people to understand. Well, one thing that was crazy to me is that I guess the FY15 budget, which came from Flanagan, former Mayor Will Flanagan, was about $10 million more than the current budget that Mayor Jazel Correa had put out. Now, $10 million more. Again, I'm not the person that's going to go actually digging through the nickels and dimes of this. Can't do it. It's not going to happen. You remember Sam Sutter, former Mayor Sam Sutter? Remember him? During the debates, he had said something to Jazel about seeing the big picture. You got to see the big picture. I don't know if we saw the same picture, but I'm kind of in that category. I'm better with the big picture and what I'm seeing. I see the forest more than the grass in the trees, and you know what I mean? That's not my thing. So, but $10 million more during the Flanagan's created budget. What the heck was that money? What's going on with that? How do we all of a sudden, and mind you, Jazel's budget for this year, or for what we're going into, the FY17 budget, I believe is around $500,000 more than the previous one created by Sam Sutter. So there's a $500,000 increase, but if you go back to Flanagan, it's a $10 million. So again, I'd like some information, if anybody's got it out there, to tell me where the heck this $10 million was going. Is that, because he was one of the big things that came about during the recall. The biggest criticism, or one of the biggest criticisms, I should say, is the mismanagement, of funds and city monies. Meaning he was being accused, and again, we went through a recall process of moving money around, shifting money around. $10 million difference? I really don't understand that. Another criticism that just came about that I wasn't aware, I wasn't privy to this until earlier today when I decided to go over some of this more in scrutiny, is there's a 20, see about these vacant positions. Here we go with one, but this one at least has justification, because apparently, again, in this budget, Jazel Correa's intent was, or what was called is, department heads had to, I don't understand how people make up these terminologies, okay? That's another thing. Apparently, there's new terminology associated with this budget called actual justifications. Now, I don't know about you, but that seems like plain English to me, okay? I don't understand how this becomes like a thing of its own. Actual justifications. Oh, what's that? Well, actual justifications. You got to actually justify what you're doing. So, one of the criticisms that's also coming from this is, while all these other departments are taking pay cuts, you have the mayor, Jazel Correa, his administration, or his position specifically, the budget for the mayor's floor, basically, he's getting an increase. Now, I forgot the percentage, but it comes down to, it's a $20,000 was associated to a line item for a part-time position listed as vacant. Now, you're going to look at this, And everybody who wants to jump on his back right away is going to say, well, what the heck's going on? You're creating a position out of thin air for $20,000? What's going on with my monies, right? But I'm going to tell you, I actually disagree with this. So here we go with the, don't think I'm always on one side or the other. I'm going to tell you right now, I disagree with this, and I disagreed with this through the whole debate. What this $20,000 is supposedly for, Jazel says, the goal for that position is to have a part-time staffer dedicated to tourism. Okay, so $20,000 for a part-time position, for a position that is a dedicated staffer to tourism. Now, during the debates and all the stuff before that leading up, I think even maybe at the end of Sam Sutter's timeline of service, thank you for your service, there was the question of, do we need a tourism director? I was against that. I'm still against that. So I'm telling you right now, I'm against this right now. So, there's no Jazel fanboy over here either. This is called objectivity. I try to do this. And I'm telling you this time, I'm definitely leaning this way where I'm like, no, it's not the 20K. The 20K doesn't even bother me. It's just putting money or putting any emphasis right now on anything having to do with dedicating something to tourism. And I'm telling you right now, if I have a conversation with him, I understand his viewpoint on this. I can get it. I just personally don't think we're ready for this right now. I think we need a little bit more cleaning up of the city before we start trying to shop the city around to the nearbys. You know what I mean? I don't think that's gonna work out in our best favor. It's just my opinion. But that's where that 20K goes from. So he's apparently getting a raise in his department for that position. If you agree with it and you want tourism to come, you're gonna love it. If not, again, I don't think 20K is really something crazy to focus on, but I get it. I get everybody out there with that. Another thing, though, this one gets interesting to me. There's a $7,000 line item for the mayor's travel and mileage. Now, again, you want to be realistic, justifiably, when you have somebody in such a position, whatever, mayor, certain heads, I would assume certain heads of departments, but definitely mayors, governor, you know what I mean, and certain officials, state, whatever. As you're going up with these officials, their travel, same with other regular private sector jobs, certain travel is needed, and when the travel's needed, if you have to travel for your company, you're going to try to get your company to pay for that. Well, in the city's version, if the mayor needs to travel for this and travel for that, he's going to attempt to be paid through his payer, his boss, the citizens. In case you didn't know that, again, folks, I've tried to make this point clear. We're their boss, okay? Realize that. So he's trying to get money from his boss, us, to pay for his travel and his mileage. On the surface, I'm telling you, I'm fine with that. How it gets used is where we're going to get nitpicky. So to play out what this is, he wants $7,000 for a line item for his travel and mileage. That is because, and this is what he stated, he plans to attend 4 United States conferences of mayors, which apparently he's on a number of committees. Now, I seen a skeptic, in other words, one of the people who are just putting up these are legit questions. I have no problem with any questions, to be completely honest. So one of the legit questions I've heard is, he's on a number of committees. What does that mean? What does that entail? What is these number of committees? What do you do on these committees? Why is that justifiable to pay for you to go to these committees? Now, his point that he makes is that it's something previous mayors have not taken advantage of, and it puts us at a disadvantage for them not doing that, because these conferences yield funding from national companies, which come in the form of various grants and whatnot, and also it puts Fall River on the national stage. Here's the problem again. So if I'm sitting here having this conversation with the mayor, which, like I said before, trying to schedule these people, again, I've been in talks with the mayor we're going to try to work out some kind of a rotation, a constant rotation. I don't know what we can do yet, if it's like a once a month, maybe once every month and a half, I don't know yet. Stay tuned, folks, stay tuned. But if he was here, I know I have the conversation with him, and if you put this to me in words or on paper, how I read it, again, credit to Joe Good of the Herald News, she had this conversation with him, this is what he gave for it. I'm going to understand this. I'm going to say, okay, yeah, I see where you're coming from with this. I see where you're coming from with this. But the question of, well, what committees are you on? And I believe some of the other questions also were, what is the intended fruit this is going to bear us? What are we going to get from this? What bang for our buck are we going to get? I understand those questions as well. So, no disrespect, not even against this yet. I need to hear more about this, to be honest, because on the surface, it sounds great. I get it. You need to put, one of the biggest criticisms we have all the time, right, is that Fall River gets beat down by the leftovers of the rest of the state, okay? We're pretty much, I've said it before, Donald Trump, what was Fall River? Fall River
has become a dumping ground for everybody else's problems.
Fall River, apparently Donald Trump said, and we're going to get into some national stuff in the last, I don't know, or in a couple minutes, I'm going to get into some national stuff. But, you know, Fall River has become a dumping ground for pretty much Massachusetts' problems. Not just Fall River, but Fall River has become one of the main targets. And part of the problem is we don't have proper representation on the state level. We have state representatives. I've had on the show before, State Rep Alan Sylvia, and I don't fully understand the problem. I've just started getting into all this stuff pretty much in the last 2 years, 2.5 years, locally. I've constantly paid attention to the federal level, but locally, it's been about 2.5 years. So I can't really criticize or award the state reps at all. I can only go by what's happening. My frustration, the frustration I see through so many people is, you know, what are you doing for us? You go there and we hear a lot of things, but are you really rattling cages? Are you really banging tables? Go to the meeting and get something going. So we're lacking national muscle, okay, for lack of a better way to put it. We are not flexing our national muscle. No flex zone coming up soon. For his point that he made to say that this represents us on a national stage, I get it. If he can back this up with those other critics / questionnaires about, you know, what fruits can come from this, what committees are you on? Like, why does this matter? If he can explain this, great. I think it's a good thing, but it's got to be explained because those are legit questions. I mean, I'm not just going to go along with it, go along for the ride. Another thing, though, that's going to come about through this budget, and I think this is really important for everybody out there to pay attention to, is, you know, there's all this controversy going on with the DCM and what's going on with the sanitation issues. Sanitation, transportation, basically, like removal from your property and going somewhere. That's another thing for people out there to understand that. We're talking about the transportation of your trash. Everything else is a whole nother issue. But the pickup and export, or like where's it going with the trash situation? We've had all this controversy. You've seen it, guaranteed. You've heard about it. You know, with the union, we're going to go private. Mayor, 100%. This is what's happening. We're going private. So with that, though, the head, I think he's still technically the head, but he's supposedly the former. The head of DCM, Ken Pacheco, is going to be the head of buildings and grounds. So as we lose focus of our sanitation, we're going to put focus toward buildings and grounds. At least, again, don't hold me to this. I'm not promising you this. I didn't do one of these deals. This isn't me. I'm telling you what I'm being told, and as soon as it switches up, I'm going to follow suit with the criticisms. But it's what we're being told is that as the focus drifts away from you're drifting. As the focus drifts away from sanitation, it's supposed to drift toward buildings and grounds. I don't know if you've noticed in Fall River, but our buildings and grounds need focus, okay? We've got buildings falling apart. The land is just, you know, the grass is this high, okay? Like, we have issues with this, and it needs attention. It needs focus. So that part, I'm cool with, and I know there's a lot of people out there who I don't think fully understand this. They're so focused on the fact that DCM workers are going to lose their job. Let that all play out how it needs to. I'm telling you, though, no matter what happens with all that, this focus on buildings and grounds as a whole, or what our city, this is what we need to focus on, in my opinion, before we get to tourism, okay? You want tourists to come here. You want to bring in businesses to come here. I get it. Duh. You need outside money to create more wealth for your city. Duh. Especially if you have people in the city who aren't really contributing, again, because of being at the state's dumping ground level. But you need to actually... My intern, Jake, you completely threw me off, but I appreciate it. For everybody out there who's not listening, Jake's giving me the warning on time, and it totally threw me off. But, no, all right, my point was for tourism. If you're going to try to bring in tourism, you need your property right, all right? Because otherwise, you're going to bring everybody in and look around and go, what am I going to do here? There's grass over here. There's buildings falling apart. We got mold. It's not going to work. So that's where we go with that. And I also want to mention real quick, before I get into something real quick on national level, I thought there was a city council meeting yesterday. Apparently there was not, but there was an ordinance meeting. And at the ordinance meeting, aside from this I'm gonna say, and I know I'll be the a-hole, I don't care, hate me if you want. There was this weird thing going on with Boy Scouts. I don't understand why that took place there. I know why it was a political thing to do the nice for the kids. I get that, but it made no sense during that time. There was an interview. Why are these kids, and that's fine, they were going for some kind of one of their merit badges, okay? It was like a citizen something, city, I care about my city merit badge, basically, and I'm not mocking that. I don't understand why it took place at the ordinance meeting, okay? It made no sense to me. It was an interview where they were basically interviewing Ken Pacheco and city councilors about, one kid brought up the snow removal and another kid brought up potholes. Why that took place at an ordinance meeting, I don't understand. That was an interview. Just go out in the hallway and entertain these kids with an interview. That would have helped, I think, a lot more than doing it there. But I get it. Again, gonna make nice for the people. I get it. Votes count. You gotta do what you gotta do. I get it. But that happened. So yeah, I wanted to touch on that quick. Now, that's all I really have for what's going on locally here. I want to really just, and I gotta, hey, intern, can you wave me down? We got 2 minutes. What do we got? 3? All right. I want to just say this real quick. We got, on the national level, if you're a Democrat, now, you already saw me mention here the Donald Trump situation. I think it was time for the Republicans to do what's right for America. And I did that before on a previous show. So Donald Trump was going to be the Republican nominee. We already knew that. But technically, apparently, we already knew that Hillary Clinton was going to be the Democratic nominee, okay? The presumptuous nominee, and put forth by the media, put forth by the establishment, that's fine. Now, I was not somebody who was feeling the burn. I've been kind of objective through this whole thing. I don't really go for any of this stuff like that at this level. Paying attention to the federal stuff and the national and the geopolitical stuff for so long will get you real quick to not really trust it or care really. It's not to not care, just not play along. But she's been the presumptuous Democratic nominee, and the Democrats apparently are just figuring out, while they wanted to do all the time, spend a bunch of time hating Republicans, now all of a sudden they got to look at their own party and go, what the hell's going on? Guess what? It's all one big screw job. That's the problem. And you're just figuring it out now? Fine. So Hillary Clinton got it over Bernie. They were not too happy about that. But what's interesting, and I said to somebody I was going to mention this, apparently, if you don't know this, we've had, in previous candidates, we've had these constant third-party mentions. The Libertarian Party has had Gary Johnson mentioned a couple times, and we had the Rainbow Party with Jill Stein. Again, now I would label myself, to be honest, a little bit more libertarian-leaning, but I don't really know for sure too much about Gary Johnson. But here's what I wanted to mention that's interesting about this. Now that we have these two Democratic and Republican nominees, basically, it's interesting that on a national polling, how they take these polls, I think it's like 40% with these two people, in other words, as the nominees, it's like 40% would be interested in seeing a third-party candidate. And in the polling, now it's not impressive, but it is impressive when you realize where we come from. Jill Stein is polling at like 4%, and Gary Johnson is at like 10%. That's 14% for a third party. So I think this is something to think about for everybody out there who thinks you're stuck with this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what do I got? 30 seconds? 1 minute? All right, no flex zone. We got to go to that. No flex zone real quick, ladies and gentlemen.
The views and opinions expressed on...
Ladies and gentlemen.
No flex zone. No flex zone. They know better. They know better.
All right, that's a strike, Jake. That's a definite strike, Jake. We're going to see what we got to do. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, I know the show's going to wrap up. You're going to hear that music soon. All I want to do, it's so easy. Again, these have been easy. I don't even have to try. And I didn't want to do this one because I think it's everybody's all over it. But I have no choice. The no flex... First off, the no flex zone, ladies and gentlemen, is a zone where you do not belong flexing. And by flexing, I mean doing anything you're not supposed to be doing in a place you're not supposed to be doing. This week's winners goes out to the judge in the Brock the Rapist case. Now, if you don't know the Brock the Rapist case, here's a quick synopsis. Guy finds a girl drunk out of her mind, passed out. I don't know if he brought her there or found her there, but he rapes her behind a dumpster. Judge gave him 6 months in low-cal prison, okay? Coincidence, Judge Aaron Persky is an alumni of this guy, Brock the Rapist, same school, Stanford University. I love Quidinky Dinks, folk. I love them. So yeah, Flex Zone Award winner of the week, the judge, Judge Aaron Persky of Stanford University in the Brock Rapist case. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the show. Thank you for coming. Come next week. Bye-bye.